was happening?
Well, the first thing I seen was dead bodies laying all over the place. First of all, the boat I was in, the LEC that I was in, the landing craft got blown to pieces, and I landed in the ocean. And when I did come out of there, it seems hours, but it wasn't. It must have been just a few seconds. I didn't have a rifle. And when I got onto the beach, there was an American Ranger, there was observers. He had a rifle, so I picked up his rifle. I didn't have a steel helmet all the way through. And then our officers was trying to guard the men who were living. A lot of them were dead. I'd got into about the sixth boat in. So we gathered enough to go to the direction we were going. But in the meantime, I got shot in the leg, I got shot in the arm. But the arm wasn't that bad, but the leg was broken, but they did strap it up with a shell dressing. I could limp on it. And I got behind the walls. Well, they fired at us and we fired back and so on, so on, so on. Went on for about 10 to 4. Then 10 to 4, we got hit by motors. They got the range on us, got hit by motor. And at 10 to 4 is the last time I looked at my watch. I don't remember anything after that. I was found, they say 24 hours later. I was completely stripped. Somebody took my clothes, my boots, everything. I had my dog tag. It's the only thing I had in me and my shorts. And then they brought me to Dieppe Hospital here, which I stayed 3 months, and then was transferred to Poland in a truck that carries groceries and all this with a concentration camp. I was in Poland with the British troops, the Scotch Guard and the Irish Guard, and they used to call me the kid because I was a hell of a lot younger than they were. These guys had landed in Dunkirk. They were already 2 years prisoners. Right? It was new to me, but it was new to them. And he used to give that guard shit. Don't let that kid, that was the mascot more or less. And in the meantime, there was a tank that got knocked out. She wasn't in the track because the driver was really trying to get it out. They'd knocked it in the body, and this lieutenant, I was telling him a while ago, lifted himself out, and he was yelling, oh, for Christ's sake, was someone going to give me some shoelaces? He had both legs right off. Which he lived because I seen him in Dieppe Hospital a couple of months later, and he was alive. Somebody did put a tourniquet on him. You see, we didn't even have cutters for the barbed wire. You know, I can't see in my mind, and I mean, I'm a professor. I was a professor of school for 32 years. I still can't see. I've studied it. I can't see where they achieved anything here.
I don't think prior to it the intelligence was that great, because we thought it was, well, everybody thought it was going to be sand and this, but when you hit this type of thing, even you've walked on the beach and you know how hard it is to walk, and you try and run and you're still carrying your packs. Now, as I say, I was fortunate. I didn't hit the beach. Thank
The people who actually played a role in the decision to launch this major raid are now gone or will be gone soon, which means those people have a personal feeling for it and who knew what they wanted to do on that day and what points they wanted to make, whether it was geopolitical or whatever. They will soon be gone. Then it'll be up, of course, the historians to research the documents as they become available and to decide whether the decision to commit the 2nd Canadian Division and the commandos from Britain, about 1,000 of them, to this particular location on that particular day and on that particular, under those particular conditions, will be examined and re-examined and re-examined. For those families, and it touched every part of our country, I suspect they'll say it was never worth it. Militarily, we'd have to leave to the strategists and the tacticians and the military historians to determine whether the loss was really worth it on August 19th, 1942.
50 years ago, I was at Dieppe, soldier on the German artillery. And we stand on Dieppe. I have a plane, a map. If you can see it, this is Dieppe, and there, this point, was my battery from artillery. And in the morning on this day, the last regard, I stand on the coast and looked to the mare and heard slowly from the mare shots and saw lights, and then we alarmed at 6 o'clock, nearly 6 o'clock, the battery, and then the order came, fire. For myself, it was my first artilleristic shot. I was on this day only 6 weeks soldiers. And you, soldier, on this time. And I think it must be at 9 or 10 o'clock, there came the first German aeroplanes. The time before, we saw only the Canadian and English plane. They fly over the battery. Our Glück was that on the plane of the Canadians and English, my battery was placed here, but any days before, we go for 200 meters to the mare, and therefore your ship artillery shot on the old places.
Hill till we came to the sort of T-junction on these small roads, and we were on the hill going up, and there was a hedge there. Beyond the hedge was barbed wire. It's an enormous array. This was, I think, the perimeter of the Stützpunkt, the strong point. So Murray and I set ourselves up in the hedge, a full view of the radar station. It was quite a distance away, but very clear. It stood about 30 feet high, so it was very clear and easy to see what was going on. It didn't need glasses or anything. We were quite nearby, and I could see it was no longer sweeping like a lighthouse. It was following tracks. It was a precision radar. I called for the forward observation officer to tell him study was successful. That was the code, which was going to the Fernie, the destroyer Fernie, and to the Prince Albert, which now lay a mile offshore, where my friend Don Pearson was waiting.
Well, I came in on an LCA, or landing craft assault. I had 30-odd men with me. We were the battalion headquarters protection platoon. Our objective was to get to the Saint-Remy church and set up the battalion headquarters there, from which the colonel was supposed to conduct the RHLI part of the operation. The first thing that hit me was that as we were a few hundred yards from shore, I noticed that there was no damage. I'd been given to believe that there would be a great deal of supporting fire, and the buildings would all be in a shambles and so on. Well, they weren't. They were just as they look now. Secondly, when we were 150 odd yards out, enemy machine guns started bouncing off the side of the LCA. Fortunately, it was armored against small arms fire, so we searched very deeply into the archives in England, in the Imperial War Museum, the PRO, the King's College, and we came up with a lot of new answers as far as Dieppe is concerned. It certainly changed our opinions completely. We found that although Dieppe was an unfortunate situation, there was a tragedy for those that took part, it was a very successful operation from a high strategic point of view. It was pushed forward by Churchill and the chiefs of staff, and they had dealings with Roosevelt and Stalin, which made the raid compulsory no matter what the situation was.
It was, but there were other things, no question about it. I don't know what they were. There were certain very high secret details. It could have been to get out a political prisoner or to get out somebody who was valuable. I don't know. I had no knowledge of it, but I'm sure that was happening.